girls are like, oh, I've gotten every single guy I've ever wanted. Like they're bragging about it or something. This is how delusional I am. This is how I thought it works, you know? I'm like, well, duh, you're a girl. Don't we just get everything we ever wanted? Like that's what's going on in my brain. Cause since I was little, I'm like, I thought women just get the pick of the litter. You know, I just thought like we get to be like, I want that one and I'll get it. I didn't know there was a chance I wasn't gonna get it because I always got it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Conceptually, we understand that women are born into unbelievable privilege, but as men, we have difficulty really feeling what that must be like. To not be measured by your wallet, to not have to constantly prove yourself, to not have your value tied to how much you do for others, to just exist as a woman. And that's enough. You have an innate value that everybody agrees just makes you really special. When a young woman enters the dating market in her late teens and early 20s, she hasn't done anything remarkable, and yet she's treated as though she's like a celebrity. The amount of attention, praise, and compliments that she gets teaches her that she must be this extraordinarily valuable person. Have you ever stopped to consider what impact that is going to have on the psyche of a woman? To be treated as so valuable, to be given this extraordinary privilege, but to know deep down that you have done nothing to deserve it. Believe me, it messes with their heads and the result is not pretty.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but you absolutely can stay delusional forever if you want to. I support it. If you want to just be 24/7 Delulu, I'm with you. Who are we hurting? Ourselves, but we do that anyway, so what's one more thing, you know? I mean, it's a happier place, too. Reality has no place in my world, so.
I want you to consider for a moment the disparity of effort between men and women in order to reach their peak value. In order for her to be attractive to men, she doesn't really need to put in that much effort.
All men want the same thing. Men just want a nice, sweet, supportive woman. You don't even have to be that beautiful. And women can make themselves more beautiful. Like, don't be fat, like go to the gym. It's not that difficult. Eat healthy, not that difficult. You know, you can put a little bit of makeup on, not too much. But ultimately, men just want a supportive, kind, sweet woman. He's going to go out there, take on the world, do all these difficult things, and he just wants to go home and know that there's peace. There's food on the table. The house is clean. It's really not that difficult.
She's right. Women don't have to do that much. It takes very little effort to just be kind, be young, don't be fat. And if you do that, thousands of men will consider you a highly desirable woman. Men's standards for women are pretty basic. If only women's standards were so simple.
Show me your tax returns, show me your bank statements, show me your face, show me your profile, your side profile, show me your body, top to bottom, do a 360. Those are the requirements for you to come for me. Those are the requirements for you to come for me. Okay? You think I'm joking? It's the actual truth.
Yeah, I know you're not joking. I know that's the truth. The disparity of effort is just insane. We've established that all a woman needs to do is be young, not fat, and kind, and that makes her attractive, but consider all the things that a man has to do. Looks-wise, he has it much harder than women because he has to be taller than her. That sucks because obviously he has no control over that. And it's not enough for him to just not be fat because women don't find excessively skinny guys very attractive, so he needs to have some muscle. So diet's not going to cut it like it does for women. He's going to need to go to the gym. He's going to need to exercise. So even just based on appearances, men are putting in more effort. But that's only the beginning of it because personality-wise, men have to put in way more effort. Just being kind might cut it for a woman, but for a man, he needs to be kind, but kind in a very specific way. Women require a man's personality to be dynamic, to be sensitive when appropriate, to be outgoing when necessary, to be an arsehole sometimes. For a woman to find a man's personality attractive, he needs to be emotionally competent in so many different areas and be able to change quickly based on her whims. He's got to be ambitious, successful, wealthy. He's got to be funny, outgoing, intelligent. And this is not anecdotal. This is what the research shows.
The book is based on a survey where men and women were asked if they got 80% of everything they want in their ideal mate, would they be happy with that? And women said, no, that's settling. And men said, 80%, I'd be thrilled. That's a catch. And so
80% of the women you surveyed is settling? What are women too picky about here?
Well, I'll tell you, men and women were asked what would be a deal breaker for going on a second date. And men named 3 things. They said she has to be cute enough. She doesn't have to look like Angelina Jolie. She just has to be cute enough. She has to be warm and kind, and she has to be interesting to talk to. Those seem like really valid criteria.
Ding, 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 ding. Pretty simple.
Right. Okay, reasonable, right? The women came back with 300 things that would rule out a guy for a second date. And we're talking about like another 2 hours and maybe a free dinner. And they wouldn't do it. And there were things like he wore a brown belt with black shoes.
For a woman to be kind, thin, and young takes very little effort. For a man to be ripped, intelligent, wealthy, emotionally and socially competent, all these things that women consider the bare minimum, takes 10 times more effort. And that right there is the insane privilege that women have. To be considered so valuable when they've done so little to deserve that status, it messes with their heads. How could it not? To get so much attention, so much praise, to have everything gifted to you so easily, constantly told that you're amazing, you're incredible, you're special. When you have men constantly tripping over themselves to serve you, to treat you like royalty, is it any surprise that these women become completely delusional and think they are entitled to be treated like queens?
I have proof that if he wanted to, he would. I don't even know this guy. This guy has been sending me Goodnight Queen every single night since May. Every single night. Goodnight Queen, Goodnight Queen. I'm really attached to it now. Sometimes if I don't get a Goodnight Queen, it like hurts my feelings. Sometimes I say goodnight back. Sometimes. Goodnight Queen, Goodnight Queen. But this has lasted longer than some of my relationships. I feel like everyone deserves to be told Goodnight Queen every single night for the rest of their life. And I love this. We're almost at 200.
Let me ask you, does she seem embarrassed or like she's feeling guilty about how one-sided this exchange is? No, she feels entitled to it. Let that sink in. This is normal to her. I'm telling you, this kind of undeserved value, this unearned privilege, it fucks with your perception of yourself and of reality, and you become delusional. So what would be the male equivalent? Think about the stereotype of like the privileged trust fund kid. He's instantly promoted to the top of his dad's company. So he has all this unearned success and status. And think about how obnoxious that guy is when he treats everybody underneath him like shit and is constantly bragging about his wealth. Men like that are completely insufferable, but thankfully they're very rare. There's not that many men who are born into that kind of privilege. So the good news is that that brand of delusional narcissism isn't very common. It's not widespread. But what is common is the privilege enjoyed by hundreds of millions of young women across the West and all of the delusional, narcissistic attitudes that come along with that.
How old are you?
28.
Let's say I wanted to take you out. How much do you expect me to spend on a first date?
Depends where we're going.
What's your expectation though?
I don't really have any.
So I could hit you up and say, hey, let's go to Burger King and get slushy?
No. I mean, at least like, you know, nice 5-star type of restaurant, and then depending on how it goes, depending how I like you, and that all kind of goes with me even saying yes for a first actual date. So that takes a toll.
Okay. So a 5-star restaurant in Miami, how much is that gonna range?
Depends how many drinks you'll be ordering.
Average.
Anywhere from 300 to 800 maybe. Jumpstart, yeah.
So realistically, you expect a man to spend $800 on a first date?
Yeah.
Has it happened before?
Yeah.
$300 to $800 for a date that lasts probably 2 hours. Let's do some maths. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average hourly wage of United States citizens as of December 2020 is $29.81. Let's round up to $30. It means for the average man, if he wants to go on a date with her, the expectation is that he should work between 10 and 26 hours for the privilege of spending 2 hours with her. This is one of 3 ways that women deal with all this unearned praise and attention. They delude themselves into thinking that somehow they deserve it. How do they justify that belief? Well, they're not going to point to any specific personality trait that they have, any particular achievements or talents. No, they're just going to include in a sort of vague sense that there's something innately special about them. This is a particularly ugly kind of delusion, because you know what happens when you believe yourself to be innately special is that very quickly you start to treat everybody else around you like scum. When you don't need to provide any evidence or justification for why you're so valuable, you very quickly develop a superiority complex.
I don't mean to be sexist, and I don't want to say any sexist statements, but I do think that women are better in every way.
It's like their minds cannot deal with the insane privilege that they have been born into and the fact that they don't deserve it. And so they backwards rationalize their position. They tell themselves that innately they are just special and incredible, valuable creatures, and men are lowly and disgusting. Therefore, it's not really privilege, it's just the natural order.
What do you think the issue is with men nowadays?
Men are shitheads.
The one thing I have is every man I've ever been with has cheated on me. Every man has been a selfish piece of shit. And
They think
honest. Yeah,
I have an issue with men when they breathe, talk, blink, eat, and that's all.
Yeah.
So delusional narcissism and disgusting displays of sexism is one of the ways that women deal with their unearned privilege. But what about those women who don't delude themselves into thinking that they are better than men, but they are still aware that society considers them much more valuable? How does she respond? Well, typically with guilt and insecurity, and that's a pretty understandable response. Here's all this praise, all this attention, all these compliments. She's thinking, I'm not special, I don't deserve this. It creates this huge fissure in her self-esteem as she thinks, I can't possibly live up to all of these expectations. For a woman like this, it is a huge relief when they finally meet a man who isn't intimidated by her, who doesn't treat her like a queen, who doesn't put her up on a pedestal. When he treats her like a normal human being or is even rude to her, if she has low self-esteem or a lot of insecurities, his attitude can be a relief to her.
Am I toxic, or does anyone else find it extremely attractive when a guy, instead of calling you a cute name like babe, sweetheart, or whatever, calls you like a mean name? Like dummy or loser. But not in like a mean way, in like a flirty, like cute way. Like, what are you doing, loser? Like instant fold.
You see, this situation, this isn't much better. Where is the happy middle ground? Can we have some women who are not at the extremes, who are not self-centered narcissists who believe that they are perfect goddesses and that men exist just to serve them, but are also not at the other extreme, that they're lowly creatures crippled by insecurity and their self-esteem just crashes because of this ongoing sense of imposter syndrome? I don't want to deny women their privilege because it's impossible. It's biological. Men value women who are of childbearing age who seem like they're going to be good mothers. That is not socially engineered. You're not going to change that. Women will always have a biological privilege in that regard. But where is the middle ground? What is the healthy response for a woman who is aware of her privilege, who doesn't let it delude her into thinking that she's special, but doesn't cripple her with insecurity either? If she is in touch with reality, what should her emotional response be? And what should you look out for that signals that she's a high quality woman who understands this? I give the answer to that question in the full length version of this video, which is available on my Patreon. What I post here on YouTube, these are just the shortened, abridged versions of my videos. If you'd like to see the full versions of my videos, they are available on Patreon.